I'm going to bring this meeting to order. This is the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board convening at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. Basically, this meeting will be conducted in person and via Zoom for participants who want to speak to our board or listen in. The board will accept public comment on any agenda item, on any other matter under its jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their testimony to approximately 5 minutes on each agenda item and on any other matter under our jurisdiction, not listed on the agenda. The order of the agenda may be changed to accommodate the board or the public. With that, I'll begin the roll call. Michael Allen, Chair, present.
Laura Kent-Monning, Vice Chair, present.
Michael Ling, Member, present. Bob Wachowski, Member, present.
Thank you. Now that that's been established, we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. It'd be my hope that everybody's been able to review the minutes and give me a motion to approve those minutes for the.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we've adopted our minutes. For my report, it's pretty simple. We had over 709 cases resolved and closed this month. 701 of those cases were done with the CAMS system. The other were 8 legacy cases under the previous system that we used to adjudicate cases. I'll keep my comments short, but it is the holiday season, and I just want to take the opportunity and I do this at most meetings, but it's the sort of thing where I just want to start with the support staff for all our regional offices, for the support staff here. I've worked with many organizations, and it's never been lost on me how important it is that the folks who do so much to prepare us for these kind of meetings, to help prepare the cases, to make sure that we can work electronically, all the different parts of it, making sure that that's in place. It's so important, and they're so appreciated. And then with the support staff, you have our judges in the field offices here, and they do such a terrific job. They're all such a great resource to us. And then our managerial staff, the management staff. And I'm very proud of this agency, and I hope it shows, because to me, my criteria is, are we doing our very best for the people of California? And I know the philosophy here, for as long as I've been here, and this will be, next year would be my 12th year on this board, is just trying to get the cases right and do it with adherence to the law, to the facts, with compassion, but trying to get the cases right and really having a very high standard to do that. And then the only other thing I would just mention, because it's the holiday season, it's a time for family, it's a time for friends, and it's a time for community. And so when I think of community, we're a community. This organization is an agency, is a community. We have our neighborhoods. We have the towns and cities we live in. And then we have the various groups that we work with to advance causes or to do what we can for the people around us. And to me, the holiday season, you have the traditional seasons of Christmas, Kwanzaa, I'm blanking. Help me here. Hanukkah, thank you. So anyway, it's the sort of thing where for the pagans, it was celebrating in the northern hemisphere the solstice. But the bottom line is that it's very important when you work within organizations, when you work within your communities, that you do it with an attitude that you want to see the very best for those people. Because it's my belief that in a way it begins with expecting the best of yourself. And when you expect the best of yourself, you expect the best of others, and you help them, to support them to become their best version of themselves. And I think we all aspire to that. Sometimes we fail, but we all want to be the best versions of ourselves, because when we do that, it usually creates more of an attitude of caring and love in the communities and the people we touch, as opposed to the dark side of human nature. And so to me, I always prefer to stay on the sunny side of human nature, but realize that being an optimist, sometimes we face difficulties, but the important thing is to appreciate what we have in our lives and how we can touch other people. And as in my parting thought, with the work we do, whether it's here or with the community, and when we used to do newsletters, when we weren't swamped with cases, I did one newsletter regarding Aristotle's comment that excellence is a habit. And to achieve excellence, it's very hard to have that standard of continually doing the right thing, trying to go the right way, doing things correctly. And so excellence is a habit. And I just point that out to everyone in the agency and listening today that we strive for that. We know we're not going to be perfect, but we can strive to be the very best versions of ourselves. And I'll keep it there. I've talked long enough, and I'll turn it over to my vice chair.
Thank you, Chair Allen. That is a perfect act to follow. I just had a couple comments that I wanted to raise today in thinking about this year and the end of 2024 and the incredible work that's been done at CUIAB. So I wanted to highlight just a few data points to really drive it home with how much work has been done. So at the beginning of 2024, our balance of open cases was close to 100,000 open cases. And now seeing the end of November's balance of open cases, it's just under 58,000. So that is showing the chipping away of this backlog of open cases that we've been dealing with since the pandemic. And that is an impressive marking point, I think, for seeing how much work has been done in 2024. Along with that, in December of 2023, our average case aging time was 138.5 days. And now at the end of November in 2024, the average case aging time is 60 days. So these data points show a tremendous amount of work done by everyone at this agency in 2024, and that significantly reduces the wait time for the parties who are appearing before our agency. And I think that's something to just be really proud of as we round out the year and keep us motivated to keep doing that good work in the year to come. On a more personal note, I wanted to share that I had the great pleasure of attending the Nutcracker Ballet in Fremont last weekend, which was a production of the Fremont Opera and Yoko's Academy of Dance, and it featured member Wykowski as Herr Drosselmeyer. He was absolutely wonderful, stole the show, for my children at least, with his cape. But it was really nice to see him in his community in Fremont with so many people who are active in the community, elected officials, children, the Dance Academy, musicians. It was a wonderful, wonderful performance. So I just wanted to share that and thank him. And then the last shout out is to Aida Zavala, who I think is responsible for all the amazing decorations that we're seeing here. I'm sure others have helped her, but the office is just full of lovely decorations for the holiday time, and I wanted to thank her. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Ring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for that. And kudos again to, I forgot your stage name, but I know you as Bob Wykowski. I normally pay Scrooge, but won't go into that. I think that this past year, and I think this is a good time to be in retrospect, there's three things that this past year has meant to me as far as great strides forward. First of all, we saw the stabilization, regularity of the CAMS cases, and the process by which CAMS became a starting point and then perfected itself to where it is now. I really appreciate the individuals responsible for that, but especially for us, the individualized board training and daily troubleshooting. And a program that is new is only as good as the ability to fix the problems as they arise. And sometimes I've been in agencies where that took a year, and here it takes a matter of a few seconds sometimes. I really appreciated that. Whereas the legacy cases that I thought was the ultimate in simplicity and ease, I was exposed to, of course, the new normal, and I think it's just made our lives, and especially from what I hear, the parties' lives much easier in terms of advancing a claim and making sure that justice is served. And then, although I think the perfection, as somebody put it, perfection never ends. The striving toward perfection in CAMS will never end. But I really want to thank all of you that were part of making that a huge success, and especially our former Chief Wilby's no longer, is, I think, gone to another position. Second, I think we saw the tapering off of the pandemic cases. When I first joined 6 years ago, Chair Allen talked about having as many as 120 and 30 cases a day, which is, I thought that was a nice thing for a month to have. And I really appreciated the training, and I really appreciated the inculcation of the mission to make sure that we're here to, as you put it, follow the law, but to make sure that the lives of Californians are made best possible through no fault of their circumstances that were no fault of their own. And the pandemic certainly was not their fault. So I think that the follow-through for our mission is seen in direct relationship to the trajectory of the pandemic cases, which now has tapered off. Third, I think you may not remember this, but a couple of our members went through Senate confirmation, and that is a big deal. The amount of preparation, the amount of attention to the details, anticipating the questions, was really impressive, having served in the legislature, and obviously yourself and Mr. Mikulski, and you've been very close to the legislature. I know that that was not a simple thing, and it's like someone said, it's like going through the bar exam all over again. So appreciate the members on this panel that had to go through Senate confirmation. Really appreciate that. Those are my milestones.
Thank you. Member Wachowski.
What to say after that cheerful holiday message from everybody, and thank you for the kind and embarrassing comments about my performances this weekend. I think you guys have sort of covered all the nuts and bolts. I wanted to bring to everyone's attention the recent LAO report on the unemployment fund. It's something in the future. It's a 2025 issue that the legislature will be looking at. I had initial conversations with folks about the portion that pertains to CUIAB. There's a portion of the report that talks about some of the employers being serial appeals filers, where they will appeal the EDD claim, they'll appeal the field office decision, even when, looking at the facts may make you scratch your head, and that adds to the cost of the whole program. I mean, it's one obviously fluctuates between high unemployment, low unemployment, but some of the processing, the legal work that we have to do, that you guys have so eloquently talked about, and getting it right is another. It's something hopefully the legislature will look at in a way where there's a discussion with our big employers that are just taking up some of our time on appeals that really are a head scratcher of whether there's merit in them. So it's something for 2025, and I appreciate all the work that you guys do and all the work that the staff does, and it's a nice. That's my report.
Just to kind of sum it up, I've been very blessed with a really, really supportive and so helpful Vice Chair, Shermani. And I'll tell the board members what I hear from staff routinely, at least the staff that works in this office here in Sacramento, is they are so appreciative of the care that you take with your cases, the civility, the always basically the kindness that's expressed, and the encouragement to staff. And when we do have a disagreement regarding the case, the civility we always have to resolve those differences when we're struggling over a particular case. But I hear nothing but very positives from at least the folks here in the Sacramento office about the fact that this board is a good board to work with, because it's obvious that we care about our staff, about everyone in our offices statewide, and the folks that come to us to have their cases adjudicated, whether they're employers or the claimants. There's no substitute for caring. That's simple. With that, we can move on the agenda. So any public comment? Hearing no public comment?
I have no hands raised for public comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to be certain. Okay. For a moment, I had an existential moment where I looked into the abyss, and the abyss was not looking back at me. But now that's been solved. So I'll have a report with our chief executive director, Chief Judge Kutry, update on the state and agency and field workload.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Allen and board members. I'll give a brief November workload update. In light of Vice Chair Kent Monning's retrospective on some of the progress we've made this year, as we crunch and finalize our yearly numbers in early January, I'll have a more comprehensive report for you about some of that progress. I think it was well noted by Vice Chair Kent Monning that we've made a significant amount of progress, both in terms of reducing and capturing some of that backlog work and improving all of our timeliness measures per Department of Labor standards. Member Eng at the last meeting requested that we do a little bit of a longer retrospective going back to the appeals spike that we had in 2020 and beyond. So as March approaches, I'll be prepared to talk about the million-plus cases that we've resolved in the last 4+ years, and we'll talk about that then. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm happy to say that in November, the average daily appeal intake from EDD continued to vary only by single percentage points, as it had in the entirety of 2024. So we're at a really good place in terms of incoming appeals stabilizing from EDD, very close to the levels that we experienced in 2019 and early 2020. And even though November it was and typically is a very low production month in terms of appeal output because of the holidays, the field still resolved over 20,000 decisions and reduced the open appeals inventory by over 3,700 cases. So continuing to make progress. As noted, the total open inventory sits just over 57,000 cases. And of note, just over 42,000 of those are in the unemployment and PUA fields. So we have a large balance of tax and other cases that aren't measured by U.S. Department of Labor that we'll be spending some time on in the new year as well.
Could you refresh my memory? What was the high point of our inventory?
Over 164,000 open appeals in January of 2023.
We've come a long way.
Very long way.
I came on, baby.
With the slightly lower staffing levels over the holidays, our case aging stayed roughly the same between October and November, between 60 and 61 days. Still a massive improvement, and still faring very well compared to the national average of 192 days. And our national calls, we still hear that refrain from many states that they're still swamped by the post-pandemic workload as opposed to the pandemic workload. So we're faring pretty well, and we monitor those numbers closely. I just quickly on the CAMS issue, since it was raised, one of the primary functions of CAMS was the ability to normalize wait times across the state so that offices wouldn't have to pack up and mail files. And to that end, it continues to serve us very, very well. We moved over 2,500 cases ready for hearing in November, just to accomplish that normalization of wait time. So thank you to all of the people who make that possible and make that happen. Mark Smith's team is instrumental in that, and it's much appreciated. In talking about the numbers, none of these numbers at the field level happen without a great amount of dedication to the timeliness by the staff and judges in those offices. So I would just briefly like to extend my gratitude to them. Not only have they paid close attention to that on a sustained basis for many years now. I mean, this workload has been hard on all of those offices, their staff and their judges, but they've maintained extremely high quality standards. So I would like to just echo the board's comments in that regard and wish them all a joyful holiday season with their loved ones.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to say there have been no closures or security incidents to report. So that will conclude my presentation to the board this month, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Do any board members have any questions? No, you've covered it all. Thank you so much. So we'll move it on to Judge Bach, our Supervising Administrative Law Judge for Appellate Operations. So take it away.
Thank you. Good morning. So I'll begin with some of our numbers. in order to meet Department of Labor guidelines for second-level appeals, we're to close 50% of cases in 45 days and 80% in cases in 75 days. For the month of November, we closed 79.2% of cases in 50 days and 97.8% of cases in 75 days. So that raised our year totals to 73.7% within 45 days and 94.9 within 75 days. So those are good numbers. The Department of Labor also has a guideline of having an average case aging for second-level appeals of 40 days or less, and we're at 32.9. So in short, we're meeting and exceeding all of the Department of Labor guidelines at this time. The other thing I wanted to report this month was about precedent decisions. And so, as you know, at times the board designates decisions to have precedential value, and these precedent decisions are cited and utilized by all of CUIAB in deciding cases every day. And as you know, these precedent decisions are available for the public on the CUIAB website. So the good news, and I'm happy to report, is precedent decisions are now also available on Lexis. As you all know, Lexis is a common research tool for attorneys and people in the legal industry, and so this is a really positive movement to make the precedent decisions easily accessible. And so very happy about that. And my final word would be happy holidays. We'll join everyone in the happy holidays. That's the end of my report, but I am happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you. And I'll ask the board members, any questions?
No.
Thank you. Positive report.
None for me.
Very
Which is a
positive.
rarity.
So we'll turn it over to Robert Silva for Administrative Services, and we'll do the technology last, okay? Pardon me?
Said we'll do that last.
Yeah, I just changed the order, which I'm allowed to do under the agenda, so.
He announced that he could do
I
that.
was seeing
Wielding
if
his
you were
power.
paying attention. Everyone paid attention. I'm going to Rob, then we're going to go to IT.
Thank you. Good morning. I will start with a quick hiring update. Following the last 2 months in which we didn't see any support staff hires, we did bring aboard 2 new employees just this week in the field. So the 15 recruitments that were pending as of last month's board meeting are now obviously down to 13. Of those 13, 4 are in the name clearance phase, so we're really close to formal job offers on those 4. 6 of the 13 had final filing dates in December, so it's unlikely those will come to fruition before the end of the calendar year. Over the last 90 days, we've only had attrition of 5 staff statewide, so our staffing is continuing to track with our workload. Quick procurement update. Last week, we received the state fiscal year deadlines for submitting contract requests that need to be effective before June 30th of 25. They keep moving up these deadlines on us, and this fiscal year for IT services, licensing, maintenance, infrastructure service, the deadline is January 24th to get a contract request in. And for non-IT contracts or amendments, the deadline is February 21st. So with these advanced deadlines, we do have a number of IT agreements and also a handful of field operations agreements for which we need to submit documentation before those deadlines. So I reached out to all impacted CUIAB management to let them know of the new deadlines and to make sure that all documentation is submitted in accordance with those. Reported last month that November was one of our months in which we do the bilingual employees audit. We're a little quick on this board meeting this month, so we don't quite yet have the results of those that audit for me to report today. Lastly, we are currently renewing our lease in the Pasadena Office of Appeals. Yesterday, we met with a representative from the Department of General Services as well as the lessor from our Pasadena office to do a walkthrough of the site. General Services there because they hold all the leases for state agencies. The walkthrough went very well. They also, during the walkthrough, identified $5,000 worth of tenant improvements that the board had approved for our budget this year a couple of months ago, and they were able to wrap those costs into the renewal, so they won't charge us. So it's an admittedly small savings, but every little bit is
What a
helpful to
deal.
the state.
Right.
So they think we're going to be on the fast track for this renewal, and it may be done within the next 6 months. And yes, that is considered a fast track, in case you're wondering. And lastly, at the end of the year, I want to thank all of the people in admin publicly. We have workload numbers, we have the CAMS implementation, but all the small stuff that admin rarely gets to be discussed at board meetings. And they do a lot of the intangibles that make all that other stuff happen. So I want to thank them for all their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. That kind of acknowledgement is always good, in my opinion. So thank you. Well, now we're going to turn to Mark.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah.
Sure, of course.
I do too. Yeah.
Okay,
On that
questions. Okay.
Pasadena lease renewal, is that a state office or is that just a private facility?
It's a private facility.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, because you said 6 months, if it was, we're renting it from ourselves, that seemed to be a longer period of time. And then, one final question on I know that the CAMS contract finished under normal terms a couple of months ago, and there was some cleanup work that was done. Are these other IT contracts that are due by January 24th? Would this be just a normal maintenance agreement? Or is that, should I ask IT?
Well, do you have a response to that specific
Yeah.
contract? I don't know where we are in the process of
Yeah,
submitting
there's
the
no
documentation.
more activity on that contract. This would be some of the things that we need for renewals
Okay,
in process before those states.
okay, so, but the deadline's the 24th, no matter what.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's just for clarification, that's a deadline with the Employment Development Department's Contract Services Group, so they have the lead time to process it.
Okay, all right.
Member Eng, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you.
Or question?
Well, first of all, I really appreciate the lease renewal process for the Pasadena office. It's closest to where I am, and I've used that quite extensively, and it's a great building, very user-friendly. I had a question about the translation interpretation issue. When the translators that are at the hearing, are they provided by our agency?
Yes, we contract with several translation vendors throughout the state.
Okay. I just had a quick question. I know that in the course of reviewing cases, occasionally we come across comments by the party that's using the translator that they make certain comments about the ability for the translator or interpreter to communicate in their language. Do we track that? Is there a way of doing that? Or do we look at that?
Yes, whenever offices receive any comments or reports from a party that they think the services were inferior in any way at the time of the hearing, we have an internal review team that goes over the hearing and the interpretations that were done, and we investigate internally. And if it comes to the point where we have a finding that they're not up to our standard, we act accordingly.
And how do they communicate that? Do they have to file a complaint, or do we unilaterally notice that in the course of the hearing?
To my knowledge, we don't notice that in the course of the hearing, but whether it's telephonic or written correspondence post-hearing that we receive, then we would act.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's, if we don't do it affirmatively, I would say that's the best practice. But I think that the result of making our services better, it's part of the process. And I'd like to know what the report would be on the number of comments that we have in the course of the past year that were, if you know, I'm not, there's no time sensitive, but I started to notice commentary more and more, and that affects the actual substance of the due process procedure. Not a criticism, it's more like I just wanted to know how often that occurred,
Okay.
if that's possible. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Mr. Silva, my practice is when any particular board member
Everybody.
requests a piece
Yeah.
of information to be shared with all board members.
Absolutely.
And then I'd ask the board members not to engage in colloquy to violate the Brown Act, but basically you should get the information so we all have it. Okay? Thank you. So now I think I can move forward to the last item on our agenda. It's the update on our information technology branch. Mr. Mark Smith will be presenting. So take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. So, yes, as we enter the final part of the year, our operations are going rather smoothly. We are doing our end-of-year wrap-ups for things like license counts and truing up, those type of things. To address the we're never done with seeking perfection approach. Our next group of enhancements are being prepared for release to CAMS. So this group will be things that you are not likely to directly see because they mostly affect the intake of cases from EDD and improving the quality of that data, and then some things around some of the first level decision process. So. Other than that, I think, we also have 2 hiring efforts going on where we are currently at the stage of scheduling interviews. So that, of course, is challenging right about now in the year. But yeah, we're moving ahead with scheduling interviews for 2 positions that we're filling.
Just to clarify, excellence is what we strive for. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder.
Very good.
So I would, is there any other business that we need to conduct? I will turn to board counsel. Is there any items we need to take up in the closed session? Pardon me?
Do we have questions on the last speaker?
Questions.
Questions
for me.
I'm skipping questions today. I'm trying to get to the ugly sweater contest, no doubt. That must be it. So I'm sorry, board members. Questions, please.
None. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to, 2 comments. One is I neglected to say that the addition of CAMS has been a real eye-opener in terms of the village it takes to have a decision. As you know, when we had the legacy cases, we basically see the name of the claimants and parties and the FOALJ and ourselves. With CAMS, we know that virtually every step of the way there's a name identified with someone that produced a report, and I think that's really important to see that. Secondly, on the issue of perfection, I may be speaking out of turn here, but I believe that it would behoove the agency to perhaps develop a brief questionnaire for this panel to request feedback on aspects of the CAMS format. I know that there may be little tweaks, and maybe most of them may be insignificant and unable to cure, but I think I've had enough experience now with CAMS to note that there are certain things that I would like to suggest, number 1. And number 2, have we kept a list of the commentary by the stakeholders, the users, the employers, the claimants, every time they have, I think I asked this before, but do we have a way of knowing how they evaluate the system and what they would suggest might be a better product?
There is a feedback form on our website for users to submit observations, or more observations than questions, because we're not actually responding to those, but those are collected, and we do look at those for trends and repeating kind of situations, and we have actually been addressing some of the things that we see pop up
Okay.
more than a couple times.
Yeah, I've never seen the results of that. So, in relation to the last thing, I would like to see can be an overall report about what are some of the comments that we've received, positive and negative, because you threw it open that we are aiming toward perfection, or maybe you did. But I think that
Excellence.
I think excellence means that I think I would like to know what the stakeholders, people that use it at a far different level than ourselves, what their comments are. And I think you would probably want to know what our comments are as well as how we could perfect the system. And that's why I make those two recommendations. I mean, and they could be denied or they could be postponed, but I'm just throwing it out there, something that I think would make excellence more attainable. And that would help me. I have not yet even reached the average level rather than the excellent level. So I would like to be making progress so that I can at least be an average board member as far as.
I would totally disagree with that comment. Absolutely.
I think I'm maybe below average.
Pursuit of perfection is something that's laudable. I personally, will settle for excellence, and I think the people of California would be happy with that as well. But
Thank you.
No, you're all of the board members. I'm so pleased to be working with all of you. And on that note, if we have no further business and no further questions, I'll ask our board counsel. Nothing for closed session.
We do not.
Okay. Having heard that we have nothing for closed session, I'm going to conclude this meeting, and we're adjourned. Thank you.